Good evening, everyone. I wanted to hop online and put a quick video together regarding the PDF that I sent out called The 5 Habits, or I think it was called 5 Habits Toward Intuitive Eating. So I'm going to quickly run through those 5 habits, put a few thoughts and ideas out there. I've seen a few of you respond with action items in the last couple of days, things you want to implement as an action item. This question is going to come up several times throughout the program. Just a reminder, I want you to be really specific in that action item. And then, we're going to start to develop these 5 habits throughout the entire 6 weeks together. And you may want to start picking one of these 5 habits to focus on for those action items. The 5 habits are really the foundation of everything that I'm going to be talking about throughout our program. And then one thing I want to throw out there is if you are not tracking, if you're traveling, if you're on vacation, if you're taking some type of tracking break, these are really good guidelines for following. And this is like your intuitive eating practices. Another thing I want to throw out there is if you are tracking macros, some of this is going to be a little less straightforward. If you're tracking macros, you may notice that you're falling a little bit outside of the 5 habits. I want you to focus on the plus or minus 5 grams if you're tracking macros. But again, if you're practicing intuitive eating or you're taking tracking break or anything like that, let's follow the 5 habits. Okay, so you should have all received this PDF document in the email. I'll post it on the Facebook wall if I haven't already. Number 1, the first habit I want you to practice is eating slowly and stopping at 80% full. So if you're starting as totally beginner in this nutrition thing, this is going to be the most important habit, and I want you to really pay attention to it. So first things first, you want to slow down eating, period. And this is really challenging, especially if you are multitasking, if you're feeding others, if you're eating on the go. But think about slowing down our eating patterns. So this is a really great strategy if you're on vacation or when you're not tracking, and this allows you to notice how full you are. Our body is often telling us something, and the message can be a little bit delayed to the brain, right? So if we're eating slowly, that gives the body time to notice hunger or how we're feeling. So when you're done eating, you may not completely feel satisfied. I'd like you to sit back, maybe drink some water, get up, go for a walk, load the dishwasher, something like that. And then if you decide after 15 minutes that you are still hungry, then go ahead and eat more. But remember in the initial eating to follow the plate guidelines, and that should keep you full or to this 80% full. So once you've eaten a plate or a full serving of food, sit back, start there, wait, and then assess. I'm going to go through just kind of like a timeline for this first habit. So you eat to 80% full, and then 15 minutes, walk around, drink of water, sit back, and then assess whether or not you're at that 80% full. If you are completely not full after that 15 minutes, go ahead and eat more. Then start to notice and assess. So 2 hours after finishing eating what you think is perceived as 80% full, you may want to start to take note of whether or not you're hungry. So really just start to notice this timeline, how you're feeling with hunger. 2 hours after, you may start to notice hunger, right? So notice it and decide if you're actually hungry. Or maybe try grabbing a glass of water or a beverage and assess whether or not it's hunger. Or oftentimes it's the body telling us that you have some type of routine or pattern and you are trying to fulfill that. So notice those things. This is going to happen about 2 hours after a meal. Now, 3 hours later, after that meal, it may be time to eat again. If you're not hungry yet at that 3 hour time mark, You may want to assess whether or not you've eaten too much for the meal or your serving was too large. All right, then 4 hours after a meal, 4 or more hours, you're probably going to be hungry. And this is the time period that we really, really want to pay attention to, because oftentimes this 4+ hour timeline from a meal is the time where it's food time, right? You're hungry. This can be a danger zone often. Let's try to stay away from this area of you're starving 4 hours after a meal. Stay away from this, because this is when willpower kind of leaves, right? It's gone. We look for easy to grab foods, and then we eat whatever we see. So let's try to avoid the 4 or more hours, plus after a meal. If you aren't hungry 4 hours after the 80% full meal, then you probably ate too much, right? So adjust the serving and go from there. You don't really want to be stuffed or starving at any point for this first habit. So eat slowly, and then think about 80% full, and then assess from there out. Hopefully that helps. It's a little confusing. All right, habit number 2 on the document is to eat more protein-dense foods with each meal. So let's focus on lean proteins. I have posted today a list of different protein ideas and options. Again, lean proteins is what we're going for. Think of this as eggs, dairy, chicken breasts, lean turkey, whey, plant-based supplements, or pea proteins, tempeh. One thing I want you to think about is nuts are often associated with boosting protein. They are a great source of protein. However, nuts are actually mainly a source of fats as far as a macronutrient profile goes. So nuts are great. They're a great snack, but I wouldn't necessarily call them protein foods, right? They have protein in them. They are great. They're dense and awesome vitamins and minerals, and we want to eat nuts, but I wouldn't call those a primary protein source. Also, beans. These are going to be very popular with vegetarians, vegans. Beans are great foods. They have protein. They're tasty, but they are a great source of carbohydrates, actually. So just start to notice these things. Some of the foods we think of as protein foods, they may have a more dense macronutrient within. So do a little research on what you're eating. I really encourage you to log in MyFitnessPal before you eat, so that you can just kind of gauge what's going to happen to your proteins, fats, and carbohydrates as you eat these foods. All right, habit number 3, I've listed on the document, is to eat vegetables with every meal. So this can be kind of hard, especially if you're not a big vegetable person. But what I'd like you to do is aim for 1 to 2 fistfuls of vegetables with each meal. Think about what vegetables work for you. What are your favorites? Stick with those. Don't force yourself to eat vegetables. Figure out what you like. Vegetables are great because they have micronutrients as well. So your vitamins and your minerals, these are super good. Keeps you healthy, keeps your immune system kicking. We need these micronutrients, right? So vegetables, 1 to 2 fistfuls with each meal. Habit number 4 is to eat some carbohydrates with most meals. Okay, and I want you to focus on carbohydrates after exercise primarily, particularly starchy carbohydrates. So I'm talking potatoes, pasta, bread, oats. Try to incorporate these foods after exercise. So after you exercise, your body is super ready to put carbs to good use and metabolizes very efficiently after a workout. For women, think about 1 cupful of carbs with most meals. Men, 2 hand cupfuls. And all of this information is in the portion sizes PDF that I have shared with you. You should have received it in email, and then I've posted it to the Facebook wall. So 1 handful or cupful of carbohydrates with most meals, and then men 2 hand cupfuls. Last habit that I'll touch on is to eat healthy fats with most meals. Again, most meals, not necessarily all. So fats, they do slow down the digestive process, but we need these fats as well. So healthy, dense fats, I want you to think about a thumb size. And this was kind of an adjustment for me when I started tracking. Half an avocado was awesome, and I love avocados, but half of an avocado is probably a little bit too dense in fat for 1 serving portion, okay? So think about a thumb size of your fat sources. Really great fat sources are going to include grass-fed meats. You may want to opt for chicken thighs rather than breasts. So breasts are going to be your lean protein. Thighs are going to have that protein, but they're going to have higher fat. One thing I definitely want to throw out there is your meat cuts and different types of meat, and the cut of the meat is going to vary for protein and fats. So typically a meat on a bone is going to have a higher fat content. So just log it, notice it, take a look at it on the internet, figure out, what the macros look like for those things. But thighs instead of breasts, if you have some area for fat in your day. And then other sources of fat are going to include nuts, avocado, cooking oils, flax oil. These are all great sources of fats. And I will be posting more on fats this week as well. I think Friday. Tomorrow's Thursday. Yeah, on Friday. Okay, so the 5 habits. Number 1, just recapping, eating slowly and stopping at 80%. I went over that for a while. Number 2, eat protein-dense foods with each meal. That's every meal. Number 3 is to eat vegetables with every meal. Number 4, eat some carbs with most meals. And number 5 is to eat healthy fats at most meals. Okay, so try to implement these 5 habits. This is great intuitive eating practices. If you're tracking macros, follow these habits as well. But again, your priority is to go toward plus or minus 5 grams of each of the macronutrients. If you have any questions on 5 habits, please let me know. I will include the PDF again in this post. And just start here. Really excited about how things are going. I've seen a lot of you posting macros. I've received a lot of questions. You guys are really engaged, and it's going to be great. All right, talk to you later.